Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast with Mike Trainer, Jay Jules, and John Depot. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast. I am Mike. That's Jules. That's John. We got a lot of stuff going on this week, man. Breaking news just dropped, combine news. But we got to start with this Russell Wilson trade. For everybody that didn't hear it, Russell Wilson got traded to the Denver Broncos. And Broncos, that's that loaded team, man. So I'll go over what the Seattle Seahawks got. They got 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, a 5th rounder. They got Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, which a nice pickup, and Noah Fant, my guy that I drafted in multiple fantasy leagues. I like him as a tight end. And then obviously the Broncos received Russell Wilson and a 4th round pick. Guys, I'll just give you my perspective on it real quick. Great deal for the Broncos, man. They went out, they learned from the Rams. Rams went out, they got their guy last year to put him over top to win the Super Bowl. I'm looking at the Broncos. I like Russell Wilson. I think the Broncos are doing the same thing. And with Noah Fant going there, I kind of actually think now the Broncos are going to sign Evan Ingram. So that's just my 2 cents. A great deal by the Broncos, man. They're going for it, and I think I'm going to bet them to win the Super Bowl, man, right now.
Oh, that's definitely
Besides
a bold move to bet them for the Super Bowl. But I feel like if I'm the Broncos, what else do you have to lose? Right now, you're looking at a division that you have Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and a pretty decent fucking Raiders team. Like, you're not going to compete with who you have, and it's really, really, really difficult to to compete with that quarterback or to find a quarterback in the draft or whatever. So you know what? If you're either gonna suck and be the 3rd or 4th best team in your division the next 4 or 5 and maybe even up to 10 years, why not mortgage the future to get a guy in here who can maybe have a swan song at the end, the last 3 or 4 years of his career in Denver. It's like a no-lose situation for them. They have a good team already. You get him in there, and you get Russell Wilson in there, and see what the fuck happens.
Yeah, I think he can play 10 more years.
Maybe, who knows, but the other guys in this division that the Denver Broncos play, 6 times a year. They're, you got 2 of maybe the best top 8 quarterbacks in the NFL right now in that division. What do you have to lose other than to fucking try to get somebody who can compete?
Not only that, I mean, listen, if you look at some of the Broncos' past draft history with them taking shots on quarterbacks and trying to get it right, and they just haven't. I mean, you can go back as far as Tim Tebow, right? Like, they literally haven't been able to have any good drafted quarterback just fall to them. They haven't traded up to get that top guy. They've missed out on some of the other players, like a Pat Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or those type of quarterbacks. So they got something they know can be concrete, if you would, right? And it's no more Teddy Bridgewaters, no more these journey quarterbacks. I mean, it's a good move. I just don't know if it automatically makes them better than Kansas City and an upcoming Chargers team. It's tough.
Any given Sunday.
True. Any given Sunday's right. I don't know. I mean, listen, if anything, it puts a lot more pressure on Kansas City getting back there. Right. I mean, their teams in their division are really coming at them, and you have other good AFC teams where they're not going to have, well, they could, but they may not, guarantee that they're going to have all 3 of them in the playoffs next year. That puts a lot of pressure on the Chiefs. Now they got to play these guys 6 times out of the season. For the additional games, I did throw the Raiders in there, but you know what I'm saying as far as playing your division, right?
Yeah.
But they got to play these guys, a couple times a year, and listen, that stuff, does factor. But
what it reminds me of, Jules? The Broncos team now with Russell Wilson there. It reminds me of like the Dallas Cowboys. Like, they just don't have their quarterback. Like Dak Prescott, everybody's like all hyped on him. He puts up fantasy numbers, right? But all he does is beat up on the Giants, Philly, and Washington, because those 3 teams suck for how many years that he's been pretty much beating them. And then he goes out, he don't beat winning teams, and he just doesn't, win big playoff games. And look at what Dallas did. They had to, rework his deal, somebody else's deal to free up like $22 million. I think everybody was complaining about Zeke. I'm like, you shouldn't complain about Zeke, him getting paid, because if Dallas had a competent A quarterback, they would have actually probably won some playoff games and probably could have had a shot to win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It all depends on who you're paying as a quarterback in the NFL nowadays. It doesn't matter what running backs get paid some money. You know, I'm sick of that narrative. Like, you know, with everybody say we can't pay Barkley. Why not? Why can't you pay him? Just don't pay somebody else. Maybe don't pay a corner that much money or pay a linebacker that much money. You win Super Bowls through the draft. You add free agents to put your team over the top. You know what I mean?
I mean, listen, yeah, I was going to just add to that real quick, but like, right. I mean, it is mainly a quarterback league, but at the end of the day, you're going to pay somebody, right? It's just a matter of who you pay and how much that person helps to your team. I guess the only knock on Barkley is the fact that because the NFL has become so pass heavy, because you've seen a lot of these, combo type backfields, right? It almost feels like it's an expendable position at this point in time. That's really all it is. And if it wasn't perceived that way, and it didn't feel like most offenses were kind of generating things that way, it does make the argument hard to draft a running back in the top 5 and pay him all this kind of money. I mean, but you've seen him get paid, right? But even with just picking up his 5th-year option, he's still kind of like one of the top 12 paid running backs in the league currently, which is crazy. So when you compare it to that kind of a situation, that's sort of where people are coming in saying you don't have to. Why spend this money on a rookie running back? Shit, there's going to be guys in this draft. They may not be, let's say, what Saquon was in his rookie year, right? But at the same time, they might be damn good where they still get you 1,100, 1,200 yards rushing and be able to catch 30, 40 passes. So that's sort of what you got to put into perspective, because I just feel like when you do make that big splash and you do pay that player, you better make sure that that person does play the way that you want him to play and he's making his paycheck every week.
But you're not paying him without him having performed. Like as it stands right now, Saquon Barkley is not getting top of the league money. It's just
right.
No one's giving him that until he proves that he can stay healthy and that he can regain form from when his first year and a half in the league.
Do you think they extend him, John? Do you think they extend him to? Do you think they maybe just extend him to like a 1 or 2 year deal?
I think that they can do that. They can franchise him for next year. I don't think that it costs them a ton of money to do that. There's not a big enough difference in what you're going to be paying somebody to fill the void that his potential can't make it more worthwhile to keep him on the team. You have him basically under a reasonable kind of amount of money for the next at least 2 seasons. At that point, like you're not going to tell me in the next 34 games that he can prove that he's worth giving $13-15 million a year for the 3 years after that,
right?
And then what? And then after that, that's he's a 30-year-old running back, but he was a giant for his whole career,
right? It's normal.
That's all it is. Yeah, exactly.
Do you think like a team like the Buffalo Bills, and we all see how their playoff went, it was like a shootout? Don't you think a team like Buffalo could have used a running back to like kill some time off the clock, not let the other team get the ball, play time of possession a little bit? Like, everybody says running backs don't matter. Like, I think it would have mattered in Buffalo. I think Buffalo would have won if they had some kind of running game to keep Kansas City off the goddamn field.
I mean, you could almost make that same argument with the Super Bowl with the Bengals, and they had a running back though, right? They had Joe Mixon. For whatever reason, their playing call and just went away from that. Yeah. It made no sense. You know what I mean? They had a perfect chance where they were still actually winning the game, and they could have ran some more clock off that ball, giving the Rams even less time to try to come down and win this game. So, I mean, yeah, I just think that's where it kind of goes back to what I was saying. That, it's the mentality of what the current NFL is, right? They've said this, I don't know if you guys remember, but I've always heard this term growing up, that it's a copycat league. They always look to copycats. So if these other teams are having success, being this running gun type of team, or having like a committee of a running back type of situation, or in this case, making a big splash for a premier quarterback because you have 2 really good young wide receiver studs, you have a good running game, and you have a pretty solid defense, they're copying what the Rams did. You know what I mean? Like now, if Von Miller ends up coming back to them on defense, it's going to be interesting, right? Like that'll be an interesting piece because there were rumors that he may resign. I don't know how true they are or anything like that, but I know it could just be hot air and talk at this point.
Yeah.
But there is that going on. And you know what, Mike, I'll tell you another thing too. When I hear what you're saying about them possibly signing and bringing in like an Evan Ingram or something like that, but they have a guy, the guy Albert, and I cannot pronounce his last name. Albert.
You can't pronounce any name.
Alkawama Buna, Buna, something like that. He was
good try.
He was over there at a point where it's like literally, if it wasn't Noah Fant in front of him, that would have been their starting tight end. So to throw this in to get him that, I'm telling you, hopefully, I'll hear his last name pronunciated a few more times and I'll at least have a shot at it.
I'll probably hear you draft him in a couple of weeks.
Now backing him up. I'm telling you right now, don't be surprised if they just go with him, or maybe, they still have some picks in the draft. And maybe they just try to get a third round, tight end or something like that, just to kind of fill in those pieces. If they
what about old man Rudolph?
Old man Rudolph should go play for them for free.
He's free. Yeah. You know what's funny too about like talking about like Dak and the Cowboys before, there was reportedly like Amari Cooper and Dak got into like a verbal confrontation after the playoff loss to the 49ers. Cooper called Prescott the black Kirk Cousins in a meeting. And it fucking made Dak like flip the fuck out. Yeah, I mean, that's Coop, that's hilarious, number one, but that's just the truth, man. It's so on point. Like, that's the perfect nickname. He's the black Kirk Cousins. He's exactly him.
I honestly think I got to start using that at least for the next season when we get ready to play Dallas.
It might be my new fantasy team name. All across the fucking board.
That's Kirk Cousins' brother from another mother.
And that also shows if that's what's going on in their locker room. Their window's closing fast.
I think that's why they want to trade Amari Cooper. I think that's why they're going to cut him or trade him. Maybe that's the real reason, not exactly the whole money situation. You know what I mean?
Cut him and then the Giants fucking pick him up for veteran.
I don't like him. He got the case of the dropsies. That fucking guy. I don't like Cooper, man.
Dropsies. There's other guys that we could pull in there. There's definitely some other wide receiver names that are being tossed around that are free agents. But I honestly think I know it's gonna be crazy, but I think we actually draft another wide receiver this season. I'm telling you right now, and not as late as you think either. Depending on how things fall, I could see one going on one of our third round picks, actually, depending on, again, how things fall, right? Obviously, if we end up drafting two defenders in the first round, you're probably going to see a couple of offensive linemen come off the board in the second and third, right? But, it's going to be interesting. It definitely is. I mean, listen, another name is getting thrown around as far as free agents are concerned. Apparently, Mitchell Trubisky actually met with the Giants today. I don't know if it was via Zoom or anything like that, but he was brought in, spoke to the staff, was on that team, was a big favorite of Dable as far as, as a backup. And in all honesty, that's the type of guy you bring in here that was already getting some calls to be a starter on certain teams, right? For all we know is he can end up still in Washington. There's a couple other landing spots where he could end up. I think if he is going to leave Buffalo and is going to come in somewhere where he's going to be the backup, New York might not be the worst spot, especially with the Giants. Considering, right, we all figure that this is Daniel Jones's prove it type year. And if he has a little bit of competition, another former first round pick, a guy who's played in the league, a guy who's looked better.
No,
but wait, you got to hear it out. I said this is the type of stuff that will actually push Jones, right? I mean, dude, when you don't have anything pushing you besides the fact that you just want to do it mentally, you want to be that guy, you want to, be the one that does it for yourself and make it prove it. But if you got somebody in your back, you better prove it. You know what I'm trying to say? There is no more like getting hurt or any of this other type of shit. Now you have to go out and perform. Here's your team. Here's your offensive coach. Here's going to be some key, offensive lineman we bring in and give this guy some time. And all of a sudden you got some dude that's a former first round pick that's got something to prove that's staring down your back. All right. That's motivation right there, if you ask me.
I agree. I don't think that you're wrong in general. I don't think that this specifically applies to Daniel Jones. I don't think Daniel Jones is the type of guy that's not 100% committed, 100% foot on the pedal. Like, I just don't see that as him being that type of a guy where he's going to work even 1 minute harder because Mitchell Trubisky was brought in to be his backup quarterback. I think he's full throttle no matter what, regardless of who's here.
What's all the hype about him anyway, Mitch?
Bro, it's just fucking Giants fans, bro. It's just Giants fans fucking crying and crying and
It's a lot of
crying
other people
because
too,
they
though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know what? For once, I have to go out and say it's not just Giants fans. There's
a
a
lot of
they're
decent
saying that
amount
the
of people
Giants
that
should
saying
take
on
Daniel.
teams that they want Trubisky
Few.
as their quarterback.
Like for
You
like
know what I
10
mean?
million a year.
Apparently, like what he learned again, and here we are, right? And I don't want now. Here's where the Giants hype comes into play a little bit, right? Because of the quarterback's coach, right? And because of Dable and all the stuff they did, the quarterback whispering that this team has, he actually found something that he was missing in his game a little bit, being Josh Allen's backup in Buffalo. So there is that hype. I mean, the Buffalo wanted to keep him as a backup, but at the same time, I'm
He's a
pretty sure
backup.
McDermott was the one that went out and saying that he deserves to be starting somewhere. So there's like a super tremendous amount of hype around him. It's not just us Giants fans, Giants Twitter blowing it up and like making it more than what it is. This is actually catching a lot of buzz in the NFL. And I would be surprised if he doesn't end up starting somewhere.
Is it him just being nice? You know what I mean? To like say a good thing about Mitch Trubisky, want him around. I'm like, listen, there's a reason why he's a backup. You know what I mean? Just because fucking what's his name fucking lit it up in Buffalo doesn't mean he's gonna light it up in Buffalo. Just because Josh Allen does, it's not. You know what I mean? It's like we've seen Mitch Trubisky in Chicago. It was fucking awful
For
sometimes.
years.
Like it was pretty fucking bad. I don't want him anywhere near the fucking Giants. Are you kidding me?
Do you know what this story tells me? It tells me that Mitchell Trubisky has a very, very good agent.
Yeah.
Could be
Absolutely.
that too.
That's it.
It could
That's all
absolutely be that.
He's blowing a lot of smoke
He's
up
got-
people's assholes.
He's got multiple. He was a starter for 4 seasons for the Bears.
Was it that long? No,
Was
I
it?
don't even think it was that long.
I think he was drafted in 2015. It's 2022 right now.
He was right because he was what? He was in
might
the
be
Carson Wentz draft, right?
Yeah, no, it was a Patrick Mahomes
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
and
Mahomes.
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that Carson Wentz's draft too? I don't remember if they're drafted the same exact time. I think wasn't
I don't
Wentz
think-
a
No, I don't.
year
Yeah,
after?
that's
Maybe
No,
right.
I think he's
No, I
right.
get it.
whatever it was. He's
I
got
think
plenty of games as a starter in the NFL.
We've seen
that-
enough.
Every team has seen enough. Not just fans. Teams have seen enough. It's not like they're like, he just needs back. No, he played with a good fucking team in whatchamacallit, and he never impressed anybody. He was on the butt of jokes for fucking years and years. But because he stepped out of the spotlight and he has a pedigree, now all of a sudden everybody's sucking his dick again.
Well,
I don't have the
that-
itch to get Mitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There you go.
that and
I guess
think
that's the
Title.
title of the episode right there.
Title.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's
I was
to get
gonna
Mitch.
say, like, you know what it is. I think that they see a lot of Ryan Tannehill perhaps in him, where now he could be a little bit more of a game manager in the right type of setting on
Yeah,
the
'cause
right
he's
type
white.
of team.
Yeah, you want that?
He's
You
still
want another
capable.
Tannehill?
Yeah. I'm not saying but
That's what he
he's
is,
better than
though.
what we had.
Yeah, but what if like we go
I'm not
like
saying that this guy's my starting quarterback, but all
No.
I'm saying is that if you keep him here, right, and all of a sudden you say, okay, Daniel Jones ain't gonna work, right? We don't sign him, right? This is of course just talking that way, and then you have him for next season in 2023, where you could then bring in a rookie quarterback and let that rookie quarterback
Right.
develop for a season. Okay, and now when Trubisky's got to make the transition to go somewhere else, you bring in your rookie quarterback and you can move on. Yeah, that's fine. Right. So that's what the thinking is, and that's what the logic is behind it. And you can get a good veteran quarterback that knows the offensive system in there and is going to be a hell of a better backup than we've had since Eli Manning was backing up, I guess. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
for real.
yeah.
So like that's all the right fits there. And if he's going to come in, it's going to be the right amount. Like, because you do need a backup quarterback. We saw that today. We saw that last year.
Past
It
2
was
years.
fucking ridiculous not having one. So you bring in this guy who's good enough to be that guy. And that's what it would be. It'd be more this sort of, okay, Jones didn't work out. We still need a guy. We don't need to be desperate for a quarterback because he's still capable. We're not going to win a Super Bowl, but you know what? Maybe we'll still be a decent team and you're going to have to watch out for us. And in division, you can get lucky, run the fucking table, and all of a sudden you're in the playoffs.
For me, it just depends.
That's what I see there.
For me, it just depends what he's gonna get paid. I don't want to take away from the team's potential because maybe Jones gets hurt again. Like if he's gonna cost $9 million, $10 million, and you can get a decent guy for 2 or 3, I'm not sacrificing $7, $8, $9 million off of what I could invest in my starting team to sit on the bench and maybe never take a snap.
Yeah, I mean,
I
you're right.
don't know.
I don't think he's coming in to get paid that kind of money. I'll
That's
say
what
that
he's
much right
that's
now.
what he's calling for, though. He's calling for like 10 million. They were saying that annually.
That's a lot,
Right.
bro. And
Like,
quarterbacks sometimes they get paid like that.
they do.
Backup
Even
quarterbacks.
bums get paid
Yeah,
like that
$8, $10
too. It's
million
crazy.
dollars. Like it's an important position, but I don't know. Your starting quarterback goes down. Sorry, it just is what it is. The chances of actually having a quarterback come in here as a backup and then fucking bring you to fucking the promised land. I mean, it happens once in a fucking lifetime, and unfortunately, we saw the Philadelphia Eagles, run that. It happened with us, 30 years ago, or whatever it was, too, to a degree. But I don't think they were paying fucking
Jeff
dude
Hostetler.
fucking $10 million a year or whatever the equivalent was 30 years ago.
Well, yeah,
So I don't know if even that even stacks up the same
I
way.
mean, but it does happen, right? You have the Trent Dilfers that won Super Bowls like that. I mean, look, you
Was
get
he a
these
backup
journey
quarterback
guys,
though?
huh?
Nah,
No, I'm
Trent
saying
Dilfer a backup?
he just
he was-
handed the ball off all the time.
Yeah,
And let the other team play defense.
he was the original definition of a game manager.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about that. Oh, speaking
Did
of
you
the
guys see this report
what?
from yesterday about Blake Martinez?
No, what do you say? He's collecting more Pokemon cards?
I hope so. He's gonna get paid in fucking Charizard cards. The Giants are trying to keep Blake Martinez on a renegotiated deal.
Yep.
So I know he's really, really high on Patrick Graham. Like he spoke like, he was one of the apostles. He even made that joke about I will find you fucking with the wedding crashers thing with the meme. So I don't know if he says, you know what, fucking cut me. I'll go play for Patrick Graham in Vegas. Or if he really does like playing for the Giants, maybe we could save some cap money there and get to keep a really high quality linebacker.
I'd like to have him back for like a nice little deal, especially coming off like an ACL injury and shit. But I tell you,
Yeah.
there was some news about like Patrick Graham, like it started leaking like the reasons why he left. There was like something like he was like Joe Judge's, like, that was his best friend, Joe Judge, and he didn't like how he only got like a 2-year shot at trying to fix this shit with all the shit going on. And I think there was other stuff too, like, of course, like the the hiring
Brian
process or whatever with Brian Flores and a couple other things, that he didn't like the way they handled, which I was like, I'm surprised it came out. I'm sure we'll hear it more in detail during the season, but yeah, this is pretty shocking, man.
I wonder how much of it actually came from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe he was asked a question, didn't directly answer it, and fucking, the reporter ran with it. Who knows? The NFL, like we always say, is, there's few companies that have ever been better than selling itself. And in sports, no one sells themselves better than the offseason the NFL does. So, who knows how true that is. Maybe it was partially true. Maybe there's some undertones and stuff. Maybe he did feel a little bit upset that, his other friend did not get the job, and, who knows how he feels about that situation. It's funny how that whole story just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
But yeah, once it came out that he turned down jobs from Houston and whatnot. Yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't want to. I like Patrick Graham. I was hoping that he was going to be here for a while. I saw him as like a new age Steve Spagnuolo, like somebody who really can be a part of a serious contending winning team. It's a shame to see him go, but I'm excited about Wink Martindale in his place though. Should be fun at least to see him see their guys fucking blitzing like they're playing Madden.
True. Very true.
Yeah, very true. I mean, listen, I don't know what to say to that whole Pat Graham thing and Judge, and did he get a raw deal? Should he have been here another season? I go back to it being that if he didn't finish the season the way they did, they could have still lost. But if he didn't finish it the way they did, where it was just boring and overprotective and blaming everything on the backup quarterback and blame, and coming out in the media and calling out coaches, that he still would have been here. We weren't firing him. It was just the way he started going down. He melted down to a certain extent. He didn't go off on the deep end, but he did melt down a little bit, and that wasn't the same guy, wasn't the same character. And unfortunately, you fucked up with that, and that got you fired. That's it. Because before the holidays, they were saying they were going to keep him. So we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Like weeks before. And I would bet anything that they actually believed it too. I don't think that when those reports came out late in the season that they had every intention of keeping Judge. I think that they truly, in their heart of hearts, believed that they wanted to move forward with him, and that's why I said when the season first ended and the way they fired Gettleman and then or left Gettleman go and then fired Judge the next day, I really feel like there was some type of player interviews that didn't go the way they were expecting, and the team didn't view him as the guy that they needed going forward. And then Mara said, you know what, I just got to fucking pull the plug again, and that's it. Because once a coach loses the locker room, it's done. It's over. They think he's a clown.
My source said, like, Judge was staying. Remember, I said on the podcast he was staying, and then the cap genius was going to be the new GM, and then all of a sudden, like, Mara got influenced by Tish, and Tish kind of like sold him on making the change, and that's what happened, man. So hopefully the change works out. Like, you know what I mean? We will never know unless this fucking team just never gets right for the next 5 years. Then people are gonna be like, yeah, we should have kept Joe Judge. We'll never.
He'll look back on fondly because of how excited and how in love everybody fell with him when he first came. The whole entire fan base, really, really loved him. His approval ratings, if there was such a thing for a coach, were super, super high the first year. Even after, I mean, they went 6-10. It wasn't exactly a special season, and people still really had faith in him all over the place. Even outside the Giants organization and the fan base, like even the media, like the fucking talking heads, they even there was people who kind of panned him for his practices and stuff like that. But there were a lot of guys who believed that he would be, he would find success here. But
and everybody dropped dead the next year.
Then we'll never know. It was really fucking wild how that fucking all unfolded, man.
Well, listen, this kind of brings up like what this brings to mind for me immediately is would we have gotten Kafka? Would he have still come here if Judge was still in place and Pat Graham was the defensive coordinator, right? And we had to go out and get this big OC. Would that have been the name we attracted? And how does the team look from there, right? Obviously, this is a question that's not going to have a real answer to it unless we really see some good performances. But I don't know. Does Kafka go somewhere else? Do we even have that kind of connection? I don't know, right? So if it does come in and it works, it's going to look like a fucking genius move, right? But if it doesn't and it fails, it's like you just said, Mike, we're going to be here in another fucking 5-year endless cycle. I guess one thing that you can kind of look back at is when McAdoo getting the shot now, an offensive coordinator, which for whatever reason is super quiet for the most part, all right? But if he gets his shot now, he'll get his fucking quarterback. They can get Malik Willis if they want at this point in time, okay? Or whoever else, or Kenny Littlehand Pickett. Right, he can get his quarterback that he wants in this draft. All right, he could be that big fucking advocate for it. And my man, little head Kenny. But
make it such a big deal about
that. I'm just curious, man. Like I don't know, man. If McAdoo has success, if people are going to be looking back and being like, man, we should have kept him, right?
Right.
So you can throw that kind of like analogies around all day
Not
long.
Me.
I don't think so. He wasn't as loved. At no point. Then even when they went to the playoffs, people still clown back and do all the time.
I know.
Joe Judge had respect, and people really believed in him.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
I agree with that one. Oh, you know what's funny?
So if they don't turn the team around in 5-6 years, whatever it is, the next 2 regimes that fucking come through here, if it ends up going sour like that, I think people will say, "I wonder what happened if Judge would have stayed. I wonder who the OC would have been. I wonder how Jones and fucking Barkley would have kind of developed on with a little more consistency at the head coach and head coach position. But I don't think McAdoo at any point was ever like, man, we should have kept McAdoo. People fucking hated that guy from the very second.
But I'm saying he's also got to go out and have success in Carolina for that to even be something that'll raise. But I can almost promise you, he goes out and has success in Carolina for the next 2 seasons. You'll hear somebody that'll pull up a tweet from fucking 2016 and shit and be like, bro, you see, I told you 7 years ago. You know that shit will come out of somewhere.
It'll be that asshole like I think his name is Will. He goes by 20 something like that. And he went on the BBO NYG podcast Twitter feed and he said something over the weekend. He put like a face of like Michael Scott from The Office, giving like a smirk. Because I said Dave Gettleman came here, he fixed this, he fixed that. I think I was the one that tweeted it out. And so I was like, and he just put it out of nowhere. Like it was over the weekend, like out of nowhere, right? I'm like, I wasn't even talking to you, right? He found that out because his shtick is like pulling out all receipts to make you look like stupid. Hey, listen. I'll be honest. Obviously, Gettleman didn't work out, but I would love to go after this motherfucker. He didn't respond. I told him like, this is Mike Trainer MFT on Twitter. Why don't you come on the podcast and we'll fucking talk about it like fucking gentlemen. You know what I mean? But he didn't respond. He's gonna hide behind his account and be a little bitch. I'm talking to you, Will. So whoever listened to this podcast that knows Will, get his stupid little punk ass on the fucking site, on the fucking BBOMIG podcast, and let's fucking talk about it. Stop being a little bitch. I don't know how that dude goes to Giant games and not just get bitch slapped by fucking random fucking people that listen to his fucking bullshit. Like, yo, bring the heat. I'll bring it right back, motherfucker. Let's go. All right. That's all I had to say about him.
And just real quick, only because I got the alert on the phone while we were doing this, but Tyler Sullivan of CBS says the possibility of Mitchell Trubisky coming in is not only becoming more of a thing, but also, and again, this is what he wrote. Again, it's his opinion. And again, he works for CBS, but to compete with Daniel Jones per a report that he received. So listen, guys, I'm telling you, this is something that is heating up here. You know what I mean? Like it can become a topic. It's just because
why is it always CBS?
To be real, we like Jones. We like what he does for the team. We like his attitude. We like the way the players respect him.
Hell yeah.
But at the end of the day, he needs some fucking competition. He came to this Giants team where Eli was at the back end of his career, and we brought in fucking Colt McCoy and Mike Glennon. Like, dude, the guy has just been there. Like, there's nothing to put a fire up his fucking ass other than his own work ethic and other than his own mentality to do better.
Career mortality.
They say he could come in and bring competition to you. You better hope you do better than him. That's all I'm saying again.
Maybe to be like an incentive latent deal where Mitch like gets a high if he really wants to come here. But if some other team's going to give him like 10, 12 million annually, kiss that dream goodbye, man. I'd rather them draft a quarterback in the second round and try to groom him and see what happens in a year. Like Jules, like you were saying, like give it a year and get a bridge guy, maybe a Teddy Bridgewater.
I really just don't want a guy.
I can't believe I just said that.
I really just don't want a guy sitting in the fucking quarterback room with my starting quarterback, Daniel Jones or otherwise, that's sitting there waiting for an injury to happen at the starting quarterback position for him to get
a shot. If he runs his spot, what if he comes in, Mitch is like, yo, I can't do what Josh does. I'll show you right fucking down.
Mitch in New York, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't think so.
I mean, like, I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm just saying.
It's not even a thing.
You get a guy that comes in and knows the system and has some players and he can have some success. And all of a sudden that dude's coming out and he's slinging it all over the place in preseason. It's going to raise some questions. You know what I'm saying? And then Jones comes out and all of a sudden he throws up a lame duck gate week 1 and 2 and the Giants are 0-2. Bro, people are going to want to see what he's got. I'm telling you right now.
And that's why you don't want Mitchell Trubisky to be here.
Unless, like I said, yes, they like Jones. Yes, they think he can come back. But unless their plan is in 2023, we're drafting a quarterback. Well, who knows? I know there was fucking rumors, and I really don't want it to be this guy. But I know there were rumors. We did actually have an interview with Malik Willis. So that happened, right? You know what I mean? If Malik Willis falls or we trade back and he falls, you never know. I mean, I read another report where they were saying Malik Willis could go as early as 2 and, as far back as like 20. But
imagine.
You're not taking the overall.
If we do a live recording of the draft again, like we did last year.
Oh, yeah.
When we do it, you mean?
When really any of these quarterbacks go top 5 like that, you're going to see me fall off my chair laughing.
Yeah, I can't believe it, man.
But I'm just saying it happens almost every year, almost every single year. It happens. So
we should have been
a possibility. It's like both of the things happen. The guy comes up way too high in the draft where you're taking like in the top 5, and you're like, how? And then it goes all the way where all of a sudden one of these guys falls. Like, think about it. The Giants trade back, and could be a real thing. We don't sign Trubisky, and all of a sudden we have like the 24th overall pick, and I don't know whose that is. I'm just throwing numbers out there randomly. And Malik Willis is still sitting there. People are going to start raising that question.
Or Carson Strong, the guy that I like in the second round. But
that's more of a second round pick. But I mean,
he was supposed to be a first, Jules. You know what I mean? Before his knee injury.
He was.
So
I feel like this draft has it written all over it where you're going to have, the first rounders, they're all going to bust. And then some like second, third round guy, like a Russell Wilson, like third round pick, ends up being the special quarterback in the draft that no one was talking about. Maybe even gets fucking a couple of side comments and questions, fucking second guessing, when they make the draft pick, round 3, round 4, that all of a sudden turns into like a legit quarterback.
No, you're right. And honestly, I see that. I was thinking maybe a little bit more late first round type of action, but maybe early second or something. But yes, this
Late first
draft
round
has
is no
that
first
kind of
round
a
pick, though.
situation written all over it, where that
Yeah.
might most certainly. And I don't think it's just going to be the quarterback position. I think there's going to be a couple of positions like one of these edge guys. I mean, look, they got like, you see some of these mock drafts where they got like 6 edge guys going in the first like 12 picks, and other ones have it where there's only the 3 that go, So, it's definitely going to sort of kind of feel like a more open draft. I think because of COVID with last year and people opting out and all these different things and the unknown with the way last year's draft went down, there is a lot more player pool. There's a lot more depth in this draft this year. This is the draft. We said it, we're going to repeat it. You're probably going to hear this out of my mouth probably 17 more times before the draft. But that's literally what's going down. And it's just, it's something to sort of keep in the back of your mind. And look, you know what? We had the combine, and there were definitely people that separated themselves a little bit more, or actually got their names put up a board where they're starting to get projected at being taken higher. Any guys stand out to you at all with anything? Was it, Thibodeau's throwing up what? I think he did 27 reps at 225, and
A couple
anything stands out to you
players
during-
did, but let's take a quick commercial break, right? And then
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
yeah. That's the next topic for sure.
All right, so let's take a quick commercial break. We'll talk some combine, some picks, what we would bet on. Maybe some NFL players want to bet on that too and get suspended for the year, but we'll talk about that. We'll be right back on the BBO NYG podcast. All right, we are back on the BBO NYG podcast. I'm Mike. That's Jules. That's John. Jules, combine, man. What's up?
So for me, like, one guy, and look, this is a name that, he was out there. It's not like he, didn't show up or wasn't being mentioned, but my man, Sticky Icky, from North Carolina State, bro, that kid looked amazing. He was fast. He was strong. He was everything. Like, I would be honest, and I would go out and say that I would actually, at this point in time right now, if the Giants could choose and they had the choice between him and Neal, I would go with Icky. I actually would. And I couldn't say that with certainty last week. But after seeing the combine, and not that Neal did bad, he did good too. Like,
Yeah, he did.
I know he didn't participate in everything, but that's fine. All the drills rather. But Icky kind of like just his presence, the whole way he handled the media when they were throwing questions at him. I mean, if he was taken by New York, that he just had that kind of like moxie about him where I'm like, he's gonna be the better fit. You know what I'm saying? Neal could still end up being a better player, but Icky would definitely be the better fit with this Giants team playing on that right side. Like, it's the guy you would want. You know what I mean? Like, that guy definitely stood out to me. That would probably be my offensive guy that kind of was like, all right, you know what? This combine made a difference if I was drafted today.
I kind of like him too, Jules. Not gonna lie, I hope he slips. They're saying Aiden Hutchinson's definitely going number 1. So after that, I mean, if Malik Willis goes 2, I mean, you're just giving this guy a chance to fall on our laps. But I mean, I don't know, man.
Malik Willis?
They're saying he's going to go number 2. I mean, if he does,
there's some rumors about that, or you can go 3, or
then Icky falls to us. If Icky falls to us, shit.
I got the last name is Guy, the first name is Wright. That's all I care about getting.
Getting the right guy. Yep. I know.
I just remember that countdown app that we were using last year. I just added a slide for the NFL draft, which is 50 days away from us recording this right now.
There it is.
So we're really, really close. But I also noticed at a corner of my eye that we are 177 days removed from the beginning of the 2021 season, which means this week is the exact 6-month point of the beginning of the NFL season. So by our next podcast, which will be our 50th episode, that'll mark the halfway point between the beginning of 2 seasons. So we'll be closer to the next one than we were from the start of the last one.
And we'll be at the half century mark as far as episodes go. So way to plug that one. I liked it.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool the way that worked out looking at this.
The big 5-0.
Yeah, 50.
The silver anniversary.
That's crazy. But John, do you like do you have a player that you really like in this
I'll
combine?
be honest. I really haven't been as plugged in with the players and stuff like that as I normally have. Work's been busy, and frankly, just I didn't want to even go down the same road of fucking arguing with people and on all that. I said, you know what? I just want to be a spectator this year. Let me just fucking, I'll pop in here and there, but I haven't really, done a lot of homework to speak intelligently about any of them. I've really just been reserved in. I really want offensive lineman or pass rusher, mostly offensive lineman. And I'm just kind of curious to see how the next 6 weeks unfolds, because we're going to have both free agency in a couple of weeks, which is bananas that free agency is immediately coming here next week. And then, like I said, in 50 days, we have the draft. So,
Crazy.
roster building season is upon us. And,
I mean, you guys know who I love. I love fucking Kenneth Hamilton, man. Even Mina Kimes on ESPN. Everybody knows Mina, cute little beautiful Asian woman on ESPN that I just love to watch and listen to. I love her, man. She's so fucking goddamn.
Talks about the Giants all the time.
I know, but still, I mute that. I don't listen to her sometimes when she talks bad about the Giants. But she did say something about Kyle Hamilton where she pretty much said she thinks he's the best player in the draft. And I believe that too. Like I said, I think he's number one. I think if you're a team number one, you take Hamilton and you build a defense around him. He's that fucking good, man. He's got Tyreek Hill speed. He's got ball hawk. He could fucking grab anything. He could cover anybody. I want him so bad. But looking at the combine, I know Thibodeau, Jules, I don't know what you call him. I forgot the X-Men or whatever, but maybe I'll let you try to pronounce that later again. TX. But I tell you, I know he left early or whatever, but yeah, he's probably like us. He's like, yo, fuck the combine. I don't want to eat. It's like, let me turn off this fucking garbage and watch something else. You know what I mean? I'll go watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine instead of fucking dealing with this combine shit. But Thibodeau is fucking
great show.
He's pretty good. Thibodeau is fucking good. I'll take him. If he falls to 5, I wouldn't mind him. I tell you, even at 5 or 7, like that Sauce Gardner kid, the Bearcats corner, he's pretty fucking nasty too, man. Imagine we go Kyle Hamilton and Sauce at 5 and 7, and Giants Twitter would fucking lose their shit, and I'm here for it, man. I would love it. I would love to see that, man. Our defense would be insane.
I mean, I would almost rather go. Does Thibodeau fall to me at 5? Can I get Thibodeau at 5 and then Sauce at 7? Because Neil and Icky went and Kyle Hamilton went, you know what I mean? Like all those guys went early and obviously Hutchinson. So all of a sudden, I could get Thibodeau at 5 and then or Icky at 7 or vice versa, whatever, sorry, not Icky, Sauce at 7. Bro, we could get some offensive linemen in round 2, man. You just put 2 stud defensive players on your team, like for real.
Right.
Like, come on,
like man. Studs, legit studs.
Like legit studs, bro. Where it's kind of like, all right, Blake, you don't want to restructure your contract, you don't have to anymore.
Right. These are this will change your fucking defense around. I mean, if you don't get hyped up about that possible scenario, like, can you imagine? This is what the Giants historically been about, their defense. Build that fucking thing up first. Offensive line, you could sign a free agent. You could definitely sign a guy. There's going to be some available, some material. We got guys coming back. And then, maybe Pert steps up, plays like a little bit better. We got young guys that have been here. So, man, we'll use some draft picks on some offensive line. Maybe not in the second, maybe in the third too. We got a few draft picks in the third. So I tell you, man, I'm every day that goes by, I'm getting more hyped about just getting 2 fucking top-notch defensive guys and just, let's go, man. Let's fucking go.
I mean, listen, another name that shot up the list too after this combine is Trayvon Walker. So that's another name, that edge guy that's been kind of hot, popped up as far as has gained some interest. Like too, I know Charles Cross on the offensive line has, but I still don't feel Cross at 7 or 5. If we trade back, yes, then Cross becomes a lot more appealing. Same thing I would say about Trayvon Walker, but we'll see. But I'm just saying, like, I'm starting to get a better feeling, at least, that 1 or 2 of these guys are gonna be there at both 5 and 7. We're gonna have our shit. I don't see, the one where everybody was just kind of like being like where, and now it obviously puts the pressure on to get Hamilton, but where it's like both offensive tackles go and both the edge guys go, And now you're looking at some of these other guys that are like might be the third best at that position, or do you then take Hamilton at that point in time? I don't see that scenario playing out. I think I don't see how the Jets pass on Kyle Hamilton. I just don't. You know what I mean? He's the perfect fit for them. That's what they need. If he falls to them at 4, how do they not take him? And then the same can be said and true as if Houston ends up taking him or Detroit or something. Well, probably not Detroit, but if Houston ends up taking him at 3, then all of a sudden the Jets now what? They're going to pass on Thibodeau? Really? Are they really going to do that? It's kind of hard. I don't see that. I don't see the Jets passing on either of those guys, which then means that one of these other guys has to fall. And I'm hoping it's Icky and not Neal. To be quite honest with you, that's just because I feel like he's a better fit there. But you're right, Mike. Like that shit's been getting me hyped too, man. Like the little bit, and I didn't get too overwhelmed with the combine. It was just a few things, a few guys I wanted to see. There's a couple others that I'll bring up later on where there's a couple of guys that I think could be 3rd and 4th round as we get closer to the draft. Right now, there's no point in talking about that. But there's definitely going to be a couple of guys that kind of stood out to me there in regards to like guys that I think should be around in that area where we can get like a tight end or maybe a receiver, should be projected in that like 3rd, 4th round type of area.
Right.
That also can make an impact, in 2023 rather. So, that's what stood out to me the most for with the combine this year.
I just read something about the trade with the Russell Wilson. Before we popped on, I seen like a little tidbit that was saying, I forgot to mention this before, that's why I'm bringing it up, that the Redskins were involved in the trade for Russell Wilson.
Who?
The Redskins. Oh, I mean, the Washington Commanders. Sorry.
Oh, the Commanders. Oh, Commanders.
That sounds so fucking stupid.
Oh, God.
And they just did not want to let Chase Young involved in the trade. Can you imagine? You had a chance to get Russell Wilson to turn around your fucking dumb franchise, your racist franchise. They had to change names, and you didn't want to include Chase Young, which failed to get a sack. Crazy.
And listen, you're right. You know what? Chase Young, look, I'm not going to say he's a boss, right? I'm not going to get that crazy just yet. Not yet.
Can we just call him by his real name, though? He's Andrew Thomas's son, and he should be referred to as such.
His little bitch, you mean? That's his bottom bitch, but that's no joke for the
bottom bitch.
No, but listen, I mean, you're right.
You got that long hair, bro.
Tremendous talent, number 2 overall pick, a couple seasons ago. And I think they're just holding on to that, right? Like, look, he could still develop. He could still be fantastic. Look, he could blow up the league this year and have 13 sacks. I mean, like, the potential is through the roof with all that kind of happening, but the likelihood isn't there quite yet. And you have a chance to land Russell Wilson and you had to trade him. Yeah, all right. Why not? You have other guys that are pretty damn good.
In a perceived weak division.
Right.
Think about Russell Wilson going to the NFC East right now. Who is his real competition? Dak Prescott and the fucking Cowboys? No.
Right.
That team is about to fucking collapse in on itself.
What are they doing?
Like if they had a chance for Chase Young, I get like the loyalty to your player, like you just drafted him, your entire fan base, like that's like their fucking Jesus right now. That's like their fucking, their guy. But they would have loved fucking Russell Wilson, I'll tell you that. That guy goes out there and fucking wins the first 2 games, one against the NFC East. Forget it. They won't. They'll be like, Chase who?
Especially when you're a fan base that's been crying that you haven't had a quarterback since Joe Theismann. All right, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yep.
Like you haven't had a quarterback since you won in the 90s and shit. And then all of a sudden you have a chance to get a future Hall of Famer at quarterback that's got some seasons left in him, okay? You could find another fucking, maybe not as good as Chase Young, but someone right there. You know what I mean? And you don't go for it. To me, it's just craziness. I don't know.
It is fucking crazy.
Listen, at the end of the day,
it's also Chase Young plus probably a couple of,
of
really
course.
high.
Without a doubt.
So that's probably was like, it's just too expensive.
But they just want to include him? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, especially a team that just supposedly like they love bragging about the fact that they won a division 2 seasons ago with a losing record.
I know.
But let's just talk what we see here, right? They did just win the division. You were claiming that you have this all-star fucking like top 3 defense that was still okay. You have Jack Del Rio as your defensive coordinator, and all you're missing is a quarterback, and that's it. You're gonna go to the pro. How do you not take the chance then? If Denver, in a way more quarterback-loaded AFC, that the last championship games have all gone through Kansas City in that AFC, okay? and literally they took the splash. What the fuck are you doing, Commanders?
Right. What are you here, Commanders? What are you fucking doing?
Wake up, idiots. Commanders. Like, what are we doing here?
And you built the rest of the team through the draft, man. But so stupid. But getting back to
having to say your team is the Commanders.
No.
Commanders.
No. It's fucking
Commanders
dorky. It's something like a G.I. Joe, like G.I. Joe versus the Commanders. It's so
like not even the G.I. Joes, like G.I. Joe's like fucking faceless henchmen that fucking work under G.I. Joe. Like not even like a credited character. It's just the background dudes.
It actually almost sounds like it would have been a bootleg rival cartoon to G.I. Joe.
Yeah, it's like
G.I. Joe came on at like 8 o'clock or whatever they were kids, right?
It's a little guy
at like 6:30. The Commanders.
It's a little guys. You go to like Walgreens and get to look at the fake G.I. Joes at Walgreens. Like the fuck is that? Like I didn't want this. I want the real G.I. Joes at Toys R Us.
That's his commander right there. That's the Commanders.
Holy shit. Yo, but getting back to like the combine and the draft and all that shit, man. You build like if they made that trade, the Skins or whatever Commanders, they could have built a team around the draft. That's why I kept saying with the Giants, like take those 2 defensive studs if you want, because in the second and third round, you got like guys like offensive linemen, like Kenyon Green's probably gonna slip late first. Then you got Nick Pettit, Darian Kennard, you got Trevor Penning. I don't know why he moved up to like the first round, but I thought I had him projected in January, like to go in like the second or third. Then you got a guy, Jackson Kirkland, which I love. I'm hoping the Giants like kind of go after him. There's guys, Abraham Lucas, Alec Lindstrom. I saved this. This is on my Twitter feed, so I favored it. So just look up my favorites, and I'll retweet it tonight if you guys want to check it out. But there's plenty of fucking guys in this draft, man, we could get. So don't worry about drafting 2 top-notch defensive players, the first 2 picks that we got.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I couldn't agree with you more there because literally Lindstrom is a guy that I think is a starter day one.
Yeah.
And he's projected to go round 2. Maybe the top part of round 2, but that's absolutely fine. Right. It's an interior guy that we could draft that could play that position. Like you said, there's guys in the free agency. There's going to be guys in the third round. Maybe Pert was really hurt last year. Who knows? Right. He's still going to have a shot at playing right tackle. We're not going to just cut the guy. You know what I'm saying? So like, he's still going to be around. Like we have players, you know what I mean? Like granted, I understand everybody wants to just like sort of correct his offensive line overnight, but it might not happen that way. You might have to deal with Lemieux playing, left guard or some shit this coming season rather, and maybe Pert is the day one right tackle, or we find someone else, or we move him inside. So, fixing the O-line, there are quality guys in the second and third round without question. If you could walk away with 2 top studs that literally have, one was talked about being the number 1 overall pick at one point, and like some of these other guys where they literally have now leapfrogged over some of the other guys that were in their class. You can't miss on that kind of shit. Granted, there's no surefire hit, but like to walk away from that kind of stuff. Sauce was like, I think, wasn't he the fastest corner in the combine by far? Yeah. The dude was like blazes speed. He's like a cover guy. I mean, dude, you gotta you don't pass on the shit, especially that we mentioned earlier that we're trying to restructure Martinez's contract, but we're trying to restructure Bradbury's as well. If you don't get Bradbury's done, and you could get a talent like Sauce to step in, boom, we don't miss a beat. And I understand there's still a lot of Bradbury fans. I know there's a lot of supporters fans. But I'm just saying, like, here's where you have these type of guys that can fill in with things that are definitely going to be missed.
I agree. How funny would it be if fucking the Giants enter the season and healthy and it works out? You have Andrew Thomas and then Matt Pert on the fucking right side, and then Nick Gates comes back healthy and Chandler Mew comes back healthy. They go out there with 1 draft pick, fill 1 need, ends up having 4 of the 5 guys be Gettleman guys, and they'll go out there and become a good offensive line.
Or serviceable offensive line, right? But again, you start free.
I'm just saying, wouldn't it be funny if that happened?
Getting at least another 1 or 2 of these guys to create depth and competition. I'm not saying you fall, this is all what you have to have, but they're even saying that this tackles class is very deep. That you could get a starting quality tackle in the second round. That's what I'm trying to say. Like Linderbaum is the one we all know at center, but there's other guys that play center that are going projected in the third round.
Right.
That's where you're going to build this team around it, where you're going to find these additional players in those rounds that are going to fill in, that you don't have to worry about Lemieux or Gates or anything. I don't even know. I mean, is Gates even coming back? So I didn't even mention his name. I don't know what his health status is.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, right. So that's the only reason why I didn't go in. But Lemieux should be back, right? I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't.
Look, Jules, look what we did, like, in the New Orleans game when we had a running game. Remember, Barkley was running all over the place. We beat New Orleans. The offensive line was like healthy for that game. Then all of a sudden, Barkley went down with the fluke fucking ankle. We couldn't really run the ball. They weren't worried about Barkley in the backfield. So defensive obviously adjusted. If they don't have to worry about our best offensive player that some of you motherfuckers don't want to pay, but whatever. Our offensive line was healthy. We win that game. Barkley's running all over the place. It let Daniel Jones have some ease to pass the ball back there. Our line played good. Then all of a sudden, like, shit just went downhill. So if we could get, like, I would draft 2 offensive linemen, to be honest, and maybe even sign a guy in free agency, but that's just my opinion. And I would let these guys compete. Like, Jules, you said you want Jones to compete with Mitch or whatever, or whoever else we get some competition in there, man. This is a new regime. Get the best player. Let's just see what these guys do, man. We got the money. The cap went up another fucking like $80 million, right? Is that what it is?
25 million. I was thinking about that before. We didn't even talk about that yet.
So we
$25 million went up. That's a nice chunk of money there.
That's Mitch money. That's Mitch's money.
That's Mitch Trubisky.
That's how we get them.
And then if we cut Saquon Barkley, we'll fucking save $3 million. How great would that be?
Yeah.
Fuck that.
All right. I know we got to get to the fucking player gambling and down in Atlanta, but I did have one question. What would you guys do if offered this? Genie comes to you and says, you got to trade both of your first round picks for 2 offensive linemen, but I guarantee you for the next 7 years, you'll have a top 5 offensive line, like a Dallas Cowboys the last fucking however many years, quality offensive line where they are the reason why your team wins games. Just 1 round, over and done with, and you have for the next 7 years, you have a stout team strength at offensive line, an elite offensive line.
I wouldn't do it.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
1 round. You still have your second round pick. You still have 2 third-round picks.
Because then our defense would suck. You know what I mean?
Our defense wasn't bad though.
It wasn't bad, but
you can still get another quality guy in a second.
You got to remember,
the same argument that I just did. You definitely could, right? Like literally, there's gonna be some deep positions on defense, right? So why can't you get a quality guy, with the second round pick, which you probably definitely couldn't, which is still on the table. And then, in the third round, you get some more depth with some of these other quality defensive players, if you would, right?
You're saying you would do it?
Happen.
You would do it, Jules? You would give up?
I see that. That's the thing, though. I don't think so, because you look at teams that have had great offensive lines and top 5 lines, and they haven't won all of them.
Right.
And they haven't gone anywhere. So it doesn't necessarily mean it gets you to the playoffs. Most of them have made the playoffs because you can put better average guys behind that, and they get more time. And anytime you put a professional behind a line where they got 5-6 seconds to throw the ball, they're going to find an open receiver. These other guys are going to get open at certain points for certain plays.
Right.
So yes, that part of it does. But if you're missing out on star caliber players, that yes, maybe that mediocre line gets fixed not this year, but it definitely is ready to go by the following season. They're gonna make even those type of plays that not put you over the edge and get you to those big games. So you still need a little bit of both. And I'm not trying to say that. Look,
of course,
these things are
I'm
here
just
to
saying
me.
You just one shot, you see the fucking pitch coming. One shot, fucking press a button, boom, draft 2, the right 2 guys, bang, bang, and fucking when you watch the Pro Bowl, your 3 of your guys are in there every single year. It just rotates. It's Thomas, this guy, and that guy one year. The 3 other guys the next year. Thomas is back in there again. Like just perennially, you got guys in the Pro Bowl and all pro teams on your offensive line. 7 years in 1 round. Sacrifice those 2 picks and be done with it. Because you got to remember, we're not starting off as if this is a fantasy draft. We still have players on our team named Saquon Barkley, named Kadarius Toney, named Kenny Galladay. You know what I mean? There's still guys on this team that, with a good offensive line, can be what you're saying as far as like bringing these guys in, superstars. Kadarius Toney could be a superstar. Kenny Galladay was at some point, maybe not a superstar, but whatever is in between star and superstar, a medium star, whatever the fuck you want to call that.
I don't want to get into hyping up our team too much with these guys that are there that haven't done anything for the Giants. Okay. Potential, yes. Done anything for the Giants on the field? No, I don't want to get behind that hype train just yet. But for me, And I've been one of the biggest advocates on the science, saying that I would be appalled if we took offensive linemen with both the 5th and 7th pick, right? So I'm not going to contradict myself either and sit back and now say, well, they're going to be future Hall of Famers and they're going to make the Pro Bowl every other year. So, you can't miss. And like, how could you go wrong? Because there are different fucking, things, intangibles that go into it. And you, like I said, let's look at Dallas. Dallas has been known to have a great offensive line. They haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 fucking something years. And they have a great offensive line. Their offensive line is in the top 5 every fucking season. So no, I don't want to turn it into the Dallas Cowboys. Like, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't need that. I'd rather get these stud players that are impactful. Look, when was the last
I know John
time
wants it fixed. That's what we know,
But I'm just saying, with the exception of what McKinney and Ojulari did this season, right? Yes, I know Martinez had a good one 2 years ago. And I know you guys are Peppers fans, and it's like, what was the last time besides like you put on a jersey and it felt like you put on and you were rooting for Michael Strahan, right? Or you had, I guess JPP's name's gonna come up, OC or one of these. Like, that's what I fucking miss, man. I miss that kind of shit. I'm not sitting back and being like, yeah, you know what? I had this offensive left tackle. He was phenomenal. I got his jersey.
I know, Jules. I know what you're saying, man. I'm behind you, man. 110%. I'm behind you.
That's flash over substance, though.
I know, John. I know, John. You want it fixed. I get it. You want the offensive line fixed so bad.
I don't want it fixed. I want it dominating.
But it's hard.
I want a dominant
hard,
offensive
man.
line.
It's hard to find 5 guys.
Bro.
We got on left tackle.
And you got guys on the other side of the ball that are fucking good too. You got these defensive players. I don't give a fuck how good your offensive line are. When you got like a stud like Sam Darnold, right? Whatever, I always say fucking names wrong, so everybody knows.
Did you say Sam Darnold?
Yeah. That's what I said. All right, I was like, I fucking always say names wrong. But you know what I'm trying to say. When you have these guys that are rushing the quarterback, they're gonna get in. All right. There's a reason why these guys have success. There's a reason why TJ Watt went out and did what he did in defense. They're gonna get in. I don't give a shit how fucking good your offensive line is. That's why they're getting paid to play on the other side of the ball. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have good games. Yes. Will they dominate against a defensive front that's not as strong? Sure. But when you go against a good defensive front, they're going to win some and they're going to lose some. And that's when they put that whole little cliche saying of it's won in the trenches. Well, yeah, whoever has that better day is going to win that game. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're the better fucking team at that point in time. It's just that they had that better game. So those are some of the things that you just got to kind of keep in mind in regards to it, because that's why it's just you just I don't want to be so fixated. Even the whole defense thing. It's only if those guys slip and we don't sign Bradbury where that really makes sense, because if they don't, shit, I'd rather trade back at 7 in reality and then maybe wait for like Lindstrom or something, Linderbaum rather, excuse me, and get him to play center. Why not? Right? You know what I mean? Especially if I trade back to like, I don't know, outside of the top 10, so like these are different things where like why would I want to put not all my eggs in one basket, but do something like that where it's just gonna fix one part of the team. Well, just one piece.
Would you guys do this? Say like, number 7 comes along, a team wants a quarterback. Say they want Malik Willis. They want to trade us for Malik Willis. Would you guys give up the 7th pick, trade back a little bit, get extra picks, and that team's one of their starting offensive linemen? Would you do that?
Oh my God, yeah. if they're a good team,
right?
Of course.
Right.
If you're the player you're getting is good, bro, offensive line is really, really hard to build, man. There's only a handful of good offensive lines in the league a year. And
that's an interesting.
I don't know. It's so far and few in between for a team to dominate and play the way they want to play without having that. And if you can figure out a way to get it, I don't know. It's like fucking finding a Bitcoin.
It's gonna be interesting. That's for damn sure, though. But you know what? Like, I'll tell you one thing real quick here, right? So how often do you hear that? And this is real, right? So you have guys like Greg Hardy, Ezekiel Elliott, Josh Gordon, right? Now, a couple of these guys that mentioned actually hit women, and they got suspended for like 4 or 5 games for the season. You bet on FanDuel, when you're like trying to recover mentally, right? and like you've been having a bad time, and just because you bet on the sport that you play for, all of a sudden you're fucking suspended for a full season. Like what?
Wow.
Well, it's
Calvin
just because you're
Ridley
stupid.
has gotten. Well, look, I agree with that too, right? You could bet on college football if you really want to just bet on football, right?
It's steep,
You know,
man.
there's other things to bet on in general, right? And like, unless you're really looking at it from a perspective of, well, did he win? Right? I mean, the tweet he sent out was, he's like, bro, I bet like $1,500. He's like, that ain't shit to me. All right.
Right. It's like $1 to us.
You know, like where it's like, bro, like for real, like it almost sounds like I was betting there with his kind of money. If you put it into perspective, that's probably about what I bet too. You know what I'm saying?
Like I mean, I think the penalty's a little steep. Can we all agree that's a little steep? Even though I think one of the bets was like he bet that on his team that Matt Ryan would take a sack in like the red zone or something like that, I heard. And
oh, really?
Yeah, that was one of the bets he made. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's a good bet. Like, because he always fucking takes sacks in the fucking red zone. Like, he knows their offense. So, like, I feel weird because Jules, like what you pretty much saying like a few weeks ago when you're by yourself, how the NFL could be fixed a little bit. And then you hear this comes out, but this can't be the only motherfucker that's betting on the fucking games. There's got to be so many other people that say, hey, here's one of my boys. Hey, I'll take this account. Just give me the money. You bet this and you bet that. You know what I mean? There's got to be. Why did he use his own name and his own account? You know what I mean? That's
this
what
day
blew
and
it.
age. It's like, dude, you could literally be just using your brother's phone and account. Okay,
right?
That's a fact. You could easily, or your cousin, or one of your boys you trust, anybody. Go in, log into their shit, just give them money for what you're doing for the day, and that's that. Okay, that is fucking that. You don't have to put your name into anything. Okay, so yeah, that's where he was a fucking idiot.
I'll give Calvin Ridley one bet to do. I'll tell him to bet the Broncos to win the Super Bowl because it's plus 1,200 right now. And just to hedge your bet a little bit, just bet the Giants to win the Super Bowl because they're plus 10,000 for every $100 bet you fucking make. So that's two bets right there, Calvin, if you're listening. Think that's a wrap, right?
I don't feel bad for him. Like being suspended for a year you put it up against the fact of what happened with fucking the domestic violence issues and stuff like that. Like you physically can't do that just from an optic standpoint because it makes you look or eyes betting $1,500 on a game that you're playing in is 3 to 4 times more egregious than fucking battering your fucking girlfriend. That looks terrible, and that you can't. For that reason, they shouldn't have done a year. Just simply for that reason. But I don't feel bad for him because it's like it's such an easy thing to get away with. Like, is anybody under the assumption that the 2,000 plus NFL players don't fucking bet on the NFL? Like, why are you fucking crazy? You're talking about some people who live on like the fucking edge of reality. Like they're not betting on, but no one gets in trouble for it. Why? Because it's the easiest possible crime to get away with, or not crime, but fucking like thing to get away with. Use a fucking bookie like people did for fucking 80 fucking years. Not that. Okay. So you want to be part of technology? Use your fucking brother's phone, like you said. There's so many ways to get away with it. Just the stupidity of doing it the way he did it. He's deserving of whatever fucking punishment he gets.
You can't get away with hitting a bitch.
No, apparently you can. And just a few fucking games and you're good to go.
Yeah, right.
But
I mean, listen,
$1,500 bet,
unless the NFL with all the legalizing of all these sport apps and everything else just got really scared by this, and their old school mentality and brains just went like on the deep end and was like, nope, we need to make an example of this shit immediately. Put it to rest right now. Yes, you are now going to face a year suspension if you bet on the NFL when just as you're a player,
100%
a player or a coach, right? If they do that, and that's what they do because they don't want to chance. I mean, think about it, right? How many times can you do under over 6 catches? You can bet under over 6 catches, and think about it. If it's late in the game and he put 25 grand on it, and the game's over and he's wide open, he might drop that shit if he bet the under. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you could see that's where things could happen. All of a sudden, he's like, "Oh, I bobbled that shit."
Sure.
And he just picked up 25 grand in a game that meant nothing. right? Just because it was like that, and we call it in fantasy all the time that, end of the game bullshit that's just gonna get you fantasy points, right? And how many guys do it? They throw up the stats. But imagine you didn't fucking bet yourself to fucking get over 8 catches today, and you're at 6, and now you're wide open. You go, oh, droppy. You know what I'm saying? They're like, I just picked up 25 grand. What do I care? You know what I mean? I'm gonna go out to the strip club and blow that shit out.
You saying that? Saying that makes me think.
Style.
You saying that makes me think that like if I was a wide receiver, right, and I knew that the game plan the week I was going into, I wasn't going to be seeing much of the ball for whatever reason. The team's strength, was against me, and the weakness was one of my teammates can dominate against. And I knew that maybe I'll catch 3 or 4 passes in a game, and I can bet fucking 25,000 and turn it into 50. And I know I'm not part of the game plan. That'd be that's the best thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, that's the easiest way to make money possible.
That's my
tell your fucking cousin, tell your brother, tell your friend. All right, here's fucking money. All right, I'm giving you cash. Bet $25,000. I'm not catching more than 4 or 5 passes.
Family vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody goes to Hawaii.
Family and friends.
Get 2 helicopters and fucking look into the volcano.
Literally, really just talking about it out loud. That's literally the only thing I can see of where the NFL is just going to make it a strict 0 tolerance for that particular reason. And that's it. That's it. It's just to keep the integrity of the game and not have us really starting to think that this shit is fixed.
Yeah, probably.
Which they could do also with the domestic violence thing. Like, you setting an example for fucking other players not to gamble and, sway the integrity of the games. The same thing could be done. Like, you're damaging the integrity of the shield. You're fucking, there's videos of you in elevators fucking punching out your fucking girlfriend. Yeah. Like, that makes every single person associated with the NFL, both directly and indirectly, look worse. So if you're going to damage the integrity of the sport on the field or off the field, it's still something that should be punished to at least an equal degree, for God's sakes. The fact that, guys have had 4-game suspensions and this kid's going to serve 4 times as much.
Crazy.
That's the most ridiculous fucking, image you can be given out to the public. That's bananas to me.
Yeah. No, that I totally agree with.
Time for wrap it up.
Fellas, I think that that kind of wraps things up for this evening. Not a bad one. Look, we got our 50th episode. We might have some guests joining us for that one next week. All right, we'll definitely
be late next week, right?
What's that?
We're going to be late next week because we're going to wait for the first couple of days of free agency, right?
Yeah. That's right. You'll be catching us at least probably Wednesday of next week, maybe a little later into the week. We're not 100% sure yet. We're just trying to plan the 50th, see what it does for a few of other guests that could be on the show. People stopping in, people giving shout outs. Who knows what it's going to be like? But definitely gonna have to do something for that. And Matt, in regards to it, we'll definitely bring a little bit more talk in regards to some of these potential free agent signings and what's looking like what and who's getting cut and who's really getting restructured. That's going to really start to tie together what this what the draft is going to look like for the Giants and where we should find things. And if there are any more blockbuster trades or signings, or we go out and get Mitchell Trubisky, who knows? But it's going to be fun. We hope you guys join us again. All right. In the meantime, hit us up. You know where? BBONYG podcast. You know the websites. You know everything. Go on our Twitter handles. We got all the stuff linked in on there. If not, just keep listening. Like and subscribe. We always like when you guys do that. It helps us out. And we appreciate everything. But until then, we will definitely talk to you guys next week. All right. Have a good one.